The sixth love interest. Since the release of Caleb, the fandom has been speculating about who it's going to be. But why are people even thinking that there's going to be a sixth love interest? Well, because that coming soon is still there even after Caleb's release, which means Infold is clearly not done pumping out hot 3D men for us to obsess over. And since a lot of you requested I make a video on this, here it is. Before I begin, a disclaimer. I only have the same access to information that you do. I'm just here to share my perspective and connect the dots in my way. I'm not claiming that this is the only way to see things, and most of this is pure speculation and I could be completely wrong about all this. So if I miss anything, which I probably will because I'm just one little brain, please feel free to share your thoughts and theories in the comments. One of my favorite things to do is interacting with each and every single one of you, and yes, I do read every single comment. Okay, let's talk about the number one thing that people almost always bring up whenever the topic of a sixth love interest comes up. That last few seconds in the Cosmic Encounter video, aka the official theme of version 3 of Love and Deepspace. The music video features the 5 love interests in RMC, but then there's this final scene here. To me, personally, when I saw that, it could mean 2 things. Number 1 is this could represent the Naihe Tiao, or the Naihe Bridge, a concept from Chinese mythology. It might not be about a sixth love interest at all. It could actually be about whichever love interest you choose, your main. The Naihe Bridge is what every soul must cross before reincarnation. It's where Meng Po waits with her soup of forgetfulness. Meng Po is the old woman who waits at the end of the Naihe Bridge. Her job is to serve the soup of forgetfulness, a magical drink that every soul is required to take before they reincarnate. Once you drink it, you forget your past life completely and start the next one with a clean slate. That sounds a lot like MC, right? The point I'm making here is that the bridge might not be teasing a new character. It could be just a visual metaphor. This is a representation of your chosen love interest, someone who's willing to wait for you, walk through the cycle of reincarnation with you, and find you again in the next life. So when I see this, I don't immediately think new love interest reveal, but rather this is about the depth of devotion your chosen love interest has for you. Because in the rest of the music video, themes like samsara, reincarnation, and meeting across lifetimes are heavily implied. But the second possibility is the complete opposite. This could be an actual tease of the sixth love interest and when he's going to be released. The second thing I thought of when I saw this scene was the legend of Qixi. Let me explain for those who don't know what that is. Qixi is one of the most romantic stories in Chinese folklore. It's the original star-crossed lover's tale. Like, literally. The word Qixi means seventh evening, and it's named after the myth of 2 lovers who could only meet each other once a year, on the 7th day of the 7th month. So the myth goes like this. There was a celestial maiden whose job was to weave the fabric of the sky, who lived in the heavens, and a simple farm boy who lived on earth. They met, fell in love, and got married, but their love was forbidden. When the heavenly emperor found out, he separated them by creating the Milky Way, placing each of them on opposite ends of the sky. But once a year, on the 7th day of the 7th month, a flock of magpies would form a bridge across the Milky Way so the 2 lovers could meet again just for one night. Over time, this story became what's now known as the Qixi Festival, often called Chinese Valentine's Day. It's the day lovers celebrate their devotion, no matter the distance, no matter how long they have to wait. And what do we see in this final shot of the Cosmic Encounter music video? 2 silhouettes meeting on a celestial bridge. It feels like a Qixi reference, which brings me to this theory. What if this scene is a direct reference to Qixi, and that's the hint for the 6th love interest release? Qixi Festival always falls on the 7th day of the 7th month on the Chinese lunar calendar. So the actual date changes every year in the Gregorian calendar, which is the calendar that we all use globally. In 2025, it'll fall on the 26th of August. So if Infold is being sneaky, this whole bridge scene might not just be symbolism. It might be a release window tease. Kind of their way of saying, hey, the next time the 2 lovers meet under the stars, you'll be meeting someone new as well. So this actually fits Infold's current release rhythm. Version 2 dropped in mid-July with Sylus. Version 3 came out in late January with Caleb. If they keep that same 6-month-ish gap, we're looking at late July to late August for version 4. And that just so happens to overlap with the Qixi Festival, which in 2025 falls on August 26. So if they really are teasing something here, the stars, quite literally, line up? Well, again, this is just speculation and I could be wrong. I guess we'll find out soon enough. Okay, word on the street is that the next update might be about Sylus, or at least include his story branch, which honestly makes sense because in Prologue to Tomorrow, we already got the OG3's story branches. And personally, I don't think the devs are going to drop a full-on main story update focused entirely on the 6th love interest right away, because that would totally ruin the pacing and the flow they've been building. If anything, we might just get a teaser, not a big dramatic update about him yet. So I think version 4, or the next big update, will be the one that sets up his arrival. Personally though, I would actually like the devs to focus more on the progression of the overall story and the growth of each character, rather than rushing to release a 6th love interest in the next big update. Unless the next part of the story heavily revolves around the 6th love interest and it just wouldn't make sense without them. I feel like continuing to build the world and deepen the existing characters would make the narrative even stronger. But that's just my personal opinion. I'm sure that there's a lot of girlies out there who are really hyped about the 6th love interest. Moving on to my next spiral. Who could actually be the 6th love interest? Looking at how Infold introduces the characters that came after the OG3, which is Xavier, Zayne, and Rafayel, we can kind of see a pattern with Sylus and Caleb. Personally, I don't think Caleb really counts as a new love interest. He was already present really early on in the main story. His release is more like a comeback or a reintroduction for me. Even though he died, I think a lot of us had a feeling he'd be back. Sure, there were fans who didn't think he'd return, but if you've consumed enough media and games, it was so obvious that he's going to come back. For a dating sim that revolves around beautiful men, his character model and design was way too detailed for them to kill him off early on in the main story. Now with Sylus, we actually got a slow build-up. Before his official debut in Long-Awaited Revelry, we already heard about Onykinus and the N109 zone. These were mentioned constantly throughout the main story. We even got a vague description of him and the twins killing a researcher from EVER's biopharmaceutical company. And a few chapters before his release, we literally heard his voice.
You don't even know what I'm talking about. Well, you won't have to worry about it now.
This voice, I've heard it somewhere before.
So when I think about someone we've already seen or heard, or someone who might have a character model ready, and someone who seemed too important to be a nobody, two characters came to mind. First, this guy from The Nest. He's literally wearing an Ever badge on his suit. And second, the guy from the end of Homecoming Wings. So this guy, the one in the hospital bed at the end of Homecoming Wings, his appearance was way too detailed to ignore. Even though we don't get a full view of his face, the way he was described, skin so pale it's almost transparent, half of his face is on the thinner side, voice heavy with years of fatigue, and this line.
I've been waiting for many years, so don't make me wait anymore.
They're introducing us to his voice too. That kind of visual and emotional setup isn't something you do for a side NPC. It's deliberate and atmospheric. When a game goes that far to paint someone in vivid detail without even telling you who they are, it usually means they're going to matter a lot later on. And the same can be said about the guy from The Nest. I mean, he's got a character model ready, and he was in a moving cutscene. That's a big deal. It's not just a model for 3D dialogues like these, it's a moving cutscene. And they're purposely not showing us his full face. Both of them give off the same kind of slow burn reveal energy Sylus had before his debut. And just like how Sylus was tied to Onykinus and the N109 zone, these two characters are tied to EVER, the organization or the big bad that the story is revolving around right now. The Nest guy is clearly working with EVER because of the badge on his suit. The guy at the end of Homecoming Wings, he's associated with Professor Lucius, who is clearly working for EVER. He also mentions a project called the Fountain of Atei, which was first teased on the official Love and Deepspace Twitter back when version 2 was released, around the same time as Abyssal Chaos was released. These two feel like puzzle pieces waiting to be solved because of the way the devs wrote these descriptions. So far, the mastermind remains hidden, and no one knows who created it, but the creator is unfathomably skilled. Fast forward to the end of Homecoming Wings and the final final farewell commission in Abyssal Chaos, we finally solved a part of that puzzle. EVER is the one behind the Fountain of Atei. So what is the Fountain of Atei? From what we know, it's described as an unknown and dangerous project. They appear to be planning to transplant a protocore into the human heart while implanting human consciousness into wanderers. Now I want to talk about the final farewell from Abyssal Chaos for a bit. In Final Farewell, no matter which love interest you take with you, you'll eventually uncover that EVER had been experimenting with human consciousness and uploading it into digital form. Basically, they've been messing around with human consciousness for a while, and they've succeeded in their digital consciousness experiment, but they abandoned it. And now they've moved on to something even more terrifying, the Fountain of Atei. And the fusion of a protocore and a human heart, that part, they've already pulled it off as well. We know this because Josephine gave the evidence to Zayne before she died, and he passed it on to MC. The first successful test subject for that fusion is RMC. There's this line that really caught my attention when I did Final Farewell with Caleb. On this part of the commission, they already figured out that EVER is transferring human consciousness into digital form, and they're trying to destroy the data, but the guard that was guarding the abandoned lab told them to leave and just forget what they saw here. MC says, if that's the case, then how would Abyssal Chaos know about it? And that got me thinking, who posted this commission and why did they assign it to MC? Because this doesn't feel like a random commission, it's personal and it's targeted. It's almost like someone wants MC to learn what EVER has been doing. We know that these commissions aren't just open gigs, they're assigned to people. And we learned that in World Underneath 18, Depth of Chaos. It was Wantani that was assigning commissions to people, a malicious AI that was later reprogrammed by Mephisto and now works as our assistant in Abyssal Chaos missions. But someone else posted the Final Farewell commission, and someone is assigning this commission to MC. So my theory is the sixth love interest could be someone connected to Abyssal Chaos. Maybe not the mastermind behind the whole platform, but someone with deep access. Or he could be the one who created Abyssal Chaos and we finally solve the puzzle. But I think it could be someone who knows how this platform works and they're using it to guide MC for a reason. Someone who moves in the dark. Maybe someone who knows too much and is trying to fight back from the shadows. But again, all of this is just speculation, and I could be wrong. So this is a bit unrelated, but I want to talk about the poem that we got at the end of Homecoming Wings, the Fountain of Atei poem. I actually compared the localized translation to the OG Chinese version in hopes to find more clues. But the only thing that I noticed between the two is that the original Chinese version has a much stronger command tone, and it definitely reads more like a command or ritualistic tone, especially this line. The localized version says, "But when flowers wither in their sleep, when wind falls silent, when the vigilant owl closes its eyes, only then can you drink deep of these waters. Let the dead sing." But the literal translation is, if the flowers wither in their slumber, if the wind falls silent, if the watchful owl closes its eyes, then quickly drink from that spring and listen to the dead sing. The literal translation sounds like a ritual. Wait for the sign, owl closes its eyes, then drink, then you will hear from the dead. The localized version softens the cause-effect structure. It's more like folklore storytelling. But one thing that remains, regardless if it's in Chinese or English, this poem feels too woo-woo or mystical to be associated with EVER's research or project. Cause so far, anything that has anything to do with EVER is highly technological. Like things that can cause metaflux fluctuations, the Turing chip, floating cities in the sky because of protocore technology, bionic arms, you get the idea. It's all super high-tech, clinical, advanced sci-fi stuff. So this actually makes me wonder, could this poem be a clue about the sixth love interest myth? Or maybe it's a cover, something symbolic meant to mask what the real Fountain of Atei project is based on. Maybe the project was named after an existing legend or something. Now, something I've been thinking about lately is how the love interests kind of come in pairs or contrasting counterparts. There's this unspoken symmetry going on. Let me lay it out for you. First, Xavier and Sylus. Xavier is your classic princely knight type. Virtuous, kind. I mean, he literally is the crown prince of his version of Philos. And even in the current timeline, he's Lumiere, a literal hero who saved people from wanderers when they first showed up during the Corona Rift catastrophe. Sylus, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. He's a villain, the only person to escape time prison, and he looks like the part. He looks like a villain. He's a shady criminal, dangerous, but deep down he's got layers, and there's more than meets the eye. Both have silver/white hair, and they feel like light and dark, mirror versions of each other. Zayne and Caleb both share a deep connection to MC in the main timeline. They're both MC's childhood friend, but their approach to protecting her? It couldn't be more different. Zayne refuses the dark side by refusing to join Xander Sciences, even though he knows that by joining Xander Sciences, he's probably capable of achieving so much more. In contrast to that, Caleb embraces the dark side. He chooses, well, not like he has a choice to begin with, but he works with EVER. They're like night and day, but they're both driven by the same desire to keep MC safe in their own way. And then there's Rafayel, with no clear counterpart. Not yet. So if the devs are continuing this pattern, that would make the sixth love interest Rafayel's mirror. Maybe someone who contrasts Rafayel's vibe completely. Or maybe has a similar myth, a god of some sort. Maybe someone with a similar hair color. Because these two pairs, they kind of have the same hair color as well. Another thing that I also noticed is that since the release of the original trio, the tone of the newer love interest has gotten darker. The OG3 were bright in presentation. And I don't mean bright as in innocent. Some of them are morally gray as hell, Rafayel. But when the OG3 was first released, their energy was warm, safe, romantic, green flags, you know what I mean. But after that, Sylus was debuted as a crime lord. He literally kidnapped MC and treated her horribly at first. Caleb came back from the dead and lied, drugged, and locked up RMC in order to protect her. We're not easing into anything anymore. Infold is introducing characters who are darker up front. Their shadows are on full display from day one. They show you the damage first and make you sit with it. And I feel like that's a deliberate shift. It's possible the devs are working with a structure. If the first three were safer, then the last three are meant to challenge you, push your boundaries, make you uncomfortable. Not just for shock value, but to deepen the emotional complexity. We're forced to ask, why did he do that? What's the reasoning behind this behavior? Can I forgive this? Should I? And if Sylus and Caleb are anything to go by, I think the sixth love interest is going to take that even further. Now, I don't know if he's going to be completely evil, but I do think his introduction will be deliberately disturbing in some way. Like, we'll be forced to sit in discomfort before we even feel affection. If Infold is really following this pattern, and if I'm even remotely correct, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. And when it does, I'm already mentally preparing myself to watch the fandom just set itself on fire, just like what happened when Sylus and Caleb was released. If the sixth love interest is introduced in a similarly intense way, it's going to be another ride for all of us. Because some players are just not built to handle morally complicated storylines right off the bat. And honestly, it is always fascinating and a little funny to watch the chaos unfold. Well, talking about all this just makes me excited about the next big update. Who do you think is going to be the sixth love interest? I hope you enjoyed spiraling with me, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a like if you want, and consider subscribing if you enjoy my content. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!